we're coming up to like this intersection, and there was like this fucking car, like it looked like it got robbed, you know, and it was like a crazy ass scene, and like there's people in there kind of like laying down, it looked like they were dead, you know what I mean? Like we didn't get off and go and fucking check it out, but that shit was pretty wild running into that.
Wow. You've talked a lot about your mom. Where was your dad during all this?
He was never around since I was born.
You mentioned that you've gone to jail for graffiti. Can you tell us about that first time that you go to jail? Were you scared? Was it no big deal?
So the first time I went in, they put me in the just in like the city jail, you know, like the little small city jail. I did like an overnight, and then, you know, my mom came and picked me up. But it wasn't until I went to Juvenile Hall to where I did, you know, like a month or so or 2 months in there, which was it was pretty crazy. I think it was like Christmas and New Year's that I spent in there. It was pretty wild.
What was it like spending Christmas in Juvenile Hall?
I mean, it was pretty messed up, you know, like being in there with all these foods. But I think I've always been lucky, you know, and that I've been able to draw. And you know, some of the staff around that time used to like my drawing, so he wanted me to do their kids' names, and so that fool would hook me up with this PSP, so I'd be in the room playing PSP, and then at nighttime when everybody would be using the restroom, they walk by, see me play with the PSP, they'd be like all jealous and shit, and that fool would hook me up with like food and paper and pens, so like I had a pretty good connect.
What was your mom's reaction when she picked you up from jail?
She was just telling me like, I hope you're done with all this, you know, and I hope you don't continue, because like, you know, it did a lot to her, you know what I mean? Going to court dates and being on house arrest and everything, like just, it was a heavy load on her.
Do you meet any other well-known writers while you're in Juvenile Hall, or you land in jail?
Crazy, I ran into my homie Spilk in there. That was pretty dope.
How do you start talking to him?
So when I moved to Montebello, he lived like down the street, so around my skater days, I was like skating around and ran into him, and then we just started kicking it, you know, and you know, we were both into this game, and yeah, that kind of what drew us together.
After coming out of Juvenile Hall, after your mom having a serious conversation with you, do you consider quitting graffiti and maybe pursuing some other challenge?
No, I think around that time I was too deep into it. So I was already addicted. I couldn't give up.
Why? Why do you continue going? What do you feel inside that your mom can't talk you out of it? Jail can't talk you out of it. Why do you push? Why do you continue to push?
I think when you get into graffiti and you start tagging, you start getting your name out there, like, then you start seeing like the bigger picture of like, you know, all these like bigger artists that are doing it, and like, you know, what they're accomplishing, and you know, the stepping stones that, you know, that took them to get that far. You know, I think those early days, like, you know, seeing them and trying to reach, you know, that podium, you know, that high, I think the drive, you know, was way too deep for me to quit. So I just, no matter what was going to happen to me, like, I was not going to stop.
Looking back at it now to where you are currently, have you reached that podium, do you feel? Do you still have a ways to go?
I mean, personally, I think I have a lot more I want to accomplish, and I mean, maybe to other eyes, I have reached that pole, but I have so much more still to accomplish. So,
after you get out of Juvenile Hall, your mom's having serious conversations with you. How long after you're released do you start putting in work in the street?
Right away.
Right away?
Yeah.
What's your first mission?
I don't recall my first mission, but I remember just as soon as I got out and I got some free time, I went out and started painting.
What do you do differently now that you've been in Juvenile Hall? Are you more cautious? Do you plan better? Does anything change?
Yeah, I started to kind of plan out my missions a little bit more, not to the extent of the way I do it now, but yeah, definitely, you know, kind of, you know, don't go as fucked up, you know what I mean? Don't get me wrong, like, even after high school, like, you know, I would be drinking a lot, so I would always get drunk and go paint, but I did it a little bit more, you know, more thoughtfully instead of just so, you know, like wild.